Okay, we're ready. Let's call the city council meeting of Tuesday, January 24th. Stand for the invocation, stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, creator of all there is and ever shall be, we ask you to look down upon our city with grace. We ask you to bless all the residents, the workers, the police, the firemen, and our city council, our city manager. We ask that you grant us the wisdom and the knowledge to make the right decisions. We ask that you bless our city, our county, our state, and our country. We ask for peace in the universe. For this we are thankful. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Ms. Shutt.
Yes, sir. Mayor Massad.
Here.
Vice Mayor Terrence Rowe.
Here.
Councilwoman Nancy Britton. Here. Councilwoman Jenny Sorrell. Please let the record show that Councilwoman Sorrell is absent. Councilman William Dittmer. Here. City Attorney Jim Matthew. Here. And City Manager Vincent Lupo.
Here.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, staff announcements.
Yes, sir. Council, I'd like to give you a quick update on several different issues. First one's for Public Works. We're announcing a new work schedule that all of our citizens should be aware of. The first week of every month will be residentially produced brush pickup. The second week of every month will be stormwater swale cleaning. So we're undertaking a comprehensive swale cleaning project. And we're beginning the first cleaning with Miller Bayou. Under utilities, our water production and quality continue to increase and improve. Eventual savings are projected to exceed approximately $200,000. Residual problems are still being addressed, but we are making major improvements and great headway. Roads. A new fire hydrant and water line have been installed at the end of Leo Kidd Avenue, and a 6-inch valve replacement is scheduled to be completed tomorrow, Wednesday the 25th. Residents have been notified appropriately. We are currently awaiting BRW's project schedule to begin repairs and resurfacing of Leo Kidd. County and city accounting issues. City and county staff have been deeply involved in resolving several long-standing issues revolving around service areas and the clarification of related financial charges currently being carried in our accounting system. We have asked county staff to review and waive those related charges. We have also been asked to waive an oversight by the county as it relates to a CRA error. This error occurred in Dade City, Zephyr Hills, Newport Richey, and Port Richey. Both Dade City and Zephyr Hills have already waived the error and is currently under consideration at Newport Richey. Staff believes it is in the best interest of the city to also waive the error, as has Dade and Zephyr Hills. The Dog Enjoyment Center. We're scheduling an Adopt a Pet effort with the SPCA. The timing and date has not as yet been set. Those are the announcements, Mr. Mayor.
Anything else? General public. Thomas Brown.
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court. I'm a little surprised and disappointed to see we're still paying the city of Newport Richey more than $25,000 a month for water. I guess as our well systems improve, we'll be buying less from them. Okay. Public service announcement. I don't know if it's considered a swale or what, but if you walk down the end of Walnut Street to where it meets Broadway, there's a ditch in front of you that leads to that swamp. And at the end of Pulsar Street, at the end of Walnut Street, you can view it again, and at the easement between 7449 and 7451, you can view it again. There are televisions, tires, and mattresses all along there. A lot of them. So I'd appreciate it if you have a look at that. Okay, on January 9th, I gave a letter to our new building official, Bill Muse. In all fairness, I will give him a month to get back to me. I reported an illegal fence in the city. Actually, there are 2 of them on the same property. The fences do not have to be removed to comply with city ordinance. They only have to be turned 90 degrees to remain on the resident's property. I think the city should be responsible for turning the fences 90 degrees because it was the city that failed to notice that the fences extended beyond the resident's property when issuing the permit to erect them. The city was irresponsible when they issued a permit to erect fences that violate city ordinance, and the resident should not be made to suffer for the city's mistake. I gave a new, actually, all right. What I was gonna say after that, you've cleared it up. Thank you.
Tom, just to clear up another thing, look at the payments to Newport Richey are November of.
November and December, more than $25,000 each.
Right, but we have just now started cleaning up the water department.
Yeah, I know it's gone down from this time last year.
Right, we're going.
Good.
Leonard Lord, Reverend.
Leonard Lord, I pastored 8114 Lee O'Kidd Avenue. Just a few things coming up. We'll be, actually Newport Richey, a group's calling for this Thursday night. There's gonna be a group of people praying and caring for the community. That'll be Thursday night at 6 o'clock, that's the 26th. Then the 29th, we'll be meeting over at Fox Hollow Elementary School. That'll be a gathering again of people that just want to make a good influence in our county and in the Port Richey area. And I particularly just want to thank the city and their vision for working together. And I know there's some concerns for volunteer help. I had contacted Daniel Bernard. Now, Daniel Bernard networks with Somebody Cares America and International, and they gather people together to meet the needs of a community. I know in St. Augustine, there was as many as 39 churches came out with hundreds of people, and they just raised up the things that were falling down in the community. It was on the news if you saw it a few years ago. So I had called Daniel and said, Daniel, out of all the years of volunteering and doing CareFest around from Hardy County up to northern Florida, have you ever had any problems with suits or problems about volunteers coming out? And he said, never. Matter of fact, I was called to Plant City. We met with the mayor, the council, and they brought the whole city in and actually worked with the churches and how they could do it and really make it greater. So that's a vision that's in our heart. We've been working at that for years. And as I talked to Daniel, and you can go on Somebody Cares, TampaBay.org. You can get all the information. He'd be willing to come, as we did in Plant City, share any vision, answer any questions. And so we've been doing that in order for years. So just want to be ready serving this next year as we go. Of course, you know we did it last November out of Waterfront Park. So thank you for letting us serve. Thank you. And we're just praying that Port Richey will get more peaceful, more loving, and more able to help one another each and every day. Lord bless you and thank you. God bless you.
Claudia Smith.
Claudia Smith, 7335 Candlelight Court. The first thing I'd like to say, Terry last meeting made a list of kind of business things that he would like to see worked on. And what I would like to see if we could do is take that list and at every meeting discuss something and do some sort of plan of action of what we're gonna do to make it happen. Because I really liked the list. It was a really thorough list. So I hate to ignore what he came up with. Second of all, I thought about the water bill, the rental problem, and I had some thoughts. The rental properties produce income for the owners. And the water bill should be averaged and added to the monthly payment for the rent by the owner. The owner should receive the water bill. And if the water bill looks out of line, then they will know immediately that there could be some sort of plumbing problem, and then they pay the bill. I don't think the city should be hiring an employee to monitor something like this. I really think we're trying to think of ways to save money, and hiring an employee just to monitor that, I think we're asking for too much responsibility and expense for just maybe a few tenant problems. I also, the owner of the property would be liened if there was a problem, and so to me, if I was an owner of the property, I would certainly want to stay on top of it. My stepfather, who was a very successful entrepreneur, always used to say, making money has risk. And so if you're gonna be a rental property owner, then you're taking risk by just being that owner. And sometimes things happen, but if the rent is added in, the water payment is added into their rent, I think that would be certainly the way to go, and then receive the water bill and take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. That is all. Anyone else to speak? Well, ladies first, Ms. Baldy.
Sandra Spalding, 82070 Post Road. Just an answer to the water bill. I rent out a house across the street from where I live. In the rent, I pay the water up to a certain amount of money. Anything over that, they have to pay. And I receive the water bill, and I pay it. That's worked for me for 20 years, so I just wanted to share that.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Matt.
5113 Mallet Drive, Matthew Todd. I wanted to thank everybody again for the participation in the Veterans Fishing Trip, and I wanted to thank RDG. I didn't get to thank him last time. I had a lot of thank yous, and I wanted to thank Steve O'Neill for helping to cook.
Right.
I apologize to you gentlemen, and I wanted to ask if you guys could help us get the permit, or what we need to do to get on the track as far as removing the rocks in the Sand Pebbles channel. I gave Mr. RDG my word that I would do it and donate the equipment. And if you guys can help me on that, I don't want no money or anything. I'm willing to volunteer my equipment and all that there. And I gave RDG and the other gentlemen out there at Sand Pebble that I would do that for them. So if we can try to help them out any way, shape, or form. And again, thanks. I think you guys are doing a great job.
Just got
Thank
the
you.
disc on all of the dredging. If I can figure out how we put that together, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Matthews. So we're moving. Okay, that's back to the council. Thoughts? Ms. Pritchett?
Yeah, I've got a question. You mentioned the CRA, your error. How much was it?
Approximately $29,000.
And that was against us, right?
It was in
Overpayment?
favor of us, that they made a mistake, and that they would in fact have to reimburse us for that amount of money. But on balance, that $29,000 is, again, it was a clerical error at the time. Both, this roughly similar amounts were for Dade City and for Zephyr Hills, and they understood the issue. And they approved the waiver. It's before Newport Richey now, and this amounts approximately $29,000. But with respect to other negotiations where issues are in excess of $600,000 that we are currently discussing with the county. So we are far to the right side of this issue by simply recognizing that it was a clerical error, and as Zephyr Hills and Dade City did, agreeing to the waiver, the clerical waiver.
Were their amounts similar?
I don't actually know their amounts, but they have to be either similar or less because they are smaller grants with respect to CRA.
See what else I have here. One thing I wanted to mention to council, a few years back, when we first started running into large amounts of purchased water, I had talked to the county about supplying water to us. at the time, Bruce Kennedy was in charge of the water department over there, and he said it would be a minimal problem to connect to the county. So I would submit to council to consider this, to see if, being that they raised us 4% again, maybe we should maybe have some discussion with county and see what their offer would be and what would be necessary to connect with the county, and see if we wouldn't prefer to go that route. The only other thing, I had thought over the last couple weeks on this, and I remember when previous city manager Ellen was here, we had charts that we put up that we kind of kept track of our projects. And it was up here where not only we knew what was going on, but the city citizens, everybody could come in and see where we were on all the different projects. I think that'd be a good idea because it can keep us in the loop. Everybody can see where we're at. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else.
Thing, Mr. Dittmer? I have to agree with you, Terry, this, and I'm sure Vince has started looking into it. The county's giving the water to Newport Richie, I assume, and they're giving it to us, and they're not doing it for free.
Their connections already exist with, if I might, Mayor.
Yes, please.
Connections already exist with respect to the city of Port Richey. Our consumption of, our purchase of water from the city of Newport Richey has been decreasing dramatically. In fact, if you'll take a look, the last, if I might, the last two charts, the last two are the last 2 months' consumption versus previous months, and they're going down dramatically, and they will continue to go down. We estimate that with the current process that we're working through, an ongoing process, that we will recoup in excess of $200,000 in savings from our water purchase and reduced water purchase. We will eventually have a legally necessary water provision contract with Newport Richey on a take-or-pay basis, which ensures that, God forbid, there is a major disaster with respect to our water production, we can utilize the water directly from Newport Richey. So we are, in one respect, increasing our own well production dramatically from what it was a very short time ago. And at the same time, we are dramatically reducing the amount of water that we are currently purchasing. These last two charts, the blue lines are our current water production versus our current water purchases. So you can see the dramatic differences in what we've already affected as far as water production and water purchases. The more potable water, good quality water that we can produce, obviously, the less amount of purchase water that we will require. But there will always be a connection between either our city and the city of Newport Richey, or alternatively, if it works out, our city and the county at some future time, depending upon what economics are. We currently have a contract with the city of Port Richey, and I believe it goes through another year, with respect to the amount of money, the minimum amount of money that we, the minimum amount of water that we must purchase on a monthly basis. But our daily average since the last 2 months have obviously decreased phenomenally, and the trend will allow me to tell you that I believe that if this trend continues, we will recoup in excess of $200,000 in savings on water, which equates to a future reconsideration of the rates currently charged by this community to its citizens for water. But with respect to Councilman Rowe's recommendation, we certainly will investigate any possibility will save this community money on a cost-effective basis. We certainly will look into it.
And I assume you all understand that we will always have to have a backup water supply case of any hurricane knocks out our well fields, we have to have a replacement. So whether it's the county or Newport Richey, we'll whatever you see we're buying will just be on a take or pay. And Mr. Matthew, I believe when he was interim, would rest our wells if we hadn't used them and take the water. And I'm hoping that's what we'll do. More than that, I hope that we'll be almost independent, other than just having an emergency backup.
Mr. Mayor, you're quite right in some of your earlier estimates. With respect to our water production and the quality of that water being produced is of a superior nature. We currently have 8 wells, 3 of them, wells number 1, 2, and 3 here, and we have wells 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 at the Bandar site. We are producing quality water. We have improved our filtering system dramatically from 2 filters to 4 full-time filters. We are working on different retaining systems with respect to water loss through backwashing. That amount has been reduced dramatically. Our purchase of chemicals have been reduced dramatically, and our utilization of chemicals, because of the better quality of the water, has improved dramatically. So all in all, we're in a position, hopefully within the next year or less, if these repairs are completed, for a rather rosy picture with respect to our water production capabilities and our water utilization capabilities, and hopefully for council to take a very serious look when it comes to recasting the rate structure, which is mandated by law. So the city is beginning to look in a superior position with respect to its water production and needs.
Well, Mr. Lupo's done a great job with the water department, and I think you'll be amazed when you see the turnaround. Few other thoughts. As Mark Twain said, premature rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. You may have heard that I went to the emergency room, but I didn't have anything wrong with me, basically. Just wanted to assure you that as long as you want me, I'll be here. The other thing is, while I got Mr. Lupo on the spot.
Praise God.
Got me a prayer, Reverend Lord? What, you got me off track. I got Mr. Lupo on the spot. We meet almost daily, but we are going to put out an RFQ as per the boss for the dredge. So I'm looking at you, Jocelyn, so you don't let that fly. So we got to just keep moving fast. Other than that, I am ready for approval of the consent agenda motion.
We did that, didn't we? No, the minutes, yeah. Okay, motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, we're going to sale of Orito Drive property. This is a property, for those of you who don't know, on Ridge Road. Almost looks like beach sand, but I believe we found out, or at least I did, that it wasn't. And we have been offered $110,000, or appraised at $110,000. Somebody wants to give us $85,000. Personally, I'm for putting it to a realtor, and Mr. Lupo can add anything to that.
Yes, City Council and citizens, this property has been on our books for many, many years, and originally it was purchased and utilized as a sand borrow pit. Hopefully that sand would have been able to re-nourish some of our beaches over at Olsner Park, etc. But the quality of the sand and the utilization of it was really prohibitive. It wasn't the right quality sand, and there are more problems being created by it. So it's laid foul for many, many, many years, dating back to the 90s and early 2000s. We have taken a look at it as being a surplus piece of property, and we've come to council to allow council to take a hard look at the necessity for keeping this piece of property. It is way out of the city's current geographic jurisdictions, and there's absolutely no possible way that I can conceive we can eventually annex our way down to that piece of property. So it's just a vacant piece of property, and the adjacent owner has made an offer. The request before council today is simply to place this item with a realtor to try and ascertain what a true fair market value might be from a legitimate buyer. Once that comes in, then at that point in time, council may make one of several different decisions, which is either to accept a legitimate offer, reject any offer, or simply decide to leave that piece of property in our real estate stock and leave it as is. So that's all that this really is. It's not a motion to sell the property to an individual for an amount. It is a motion to go forward with selling the property dependent upon what that offer may be. So whatever occurs, it would come back to council for council's reconsideration and eventual determination.
How do we go about picking a realtor? I mean, who makes a decision of who lists the property and how that's done?
Well, that's really a fairly.
Do you want me to explain that?
Sure.
Because one thing was said I want to clarify. First of all, I don't think there's any way we can give this to a realtor to determine price. Okay, if this council wants to declare this surplus property, that's one thing. But the process is we can't give it to a realtor to determine price because we sign a listing agreement and they come up with someone at that price we have to sell. So we can't give it to a realtor to determine price. With regard to what realtor we choose, that would fall under $10,000, so we'd solicit 3 bids. Mr. Lupa and I have discussed this since we already have someone in the wings already at $85,000. We would put it out for solicit 3 bids. Hopefully we get it for 3 or 4% instead of 6. That's what we were thinking, so we'll see what it is. But at this point in time, council's decision from a legal standpoint is, do you want to declare it surplus property? And if so, we'll sell it in the most commercially efficient manner. Now, we'll probably, put it out with the realtor and lower the price, but you gotta remember, once somebody goes, we'll come back and say we're lowering the price each week or whatever. Mr. Lupo will let everybody know, but somebody says, I'll buy it at that, we're stuck, you have to sell it.
If they meet.
But they need that, so Mr. That answers the question.
With regard to who we pick, we cannot favor Port Richey Realtors?
No. As a matter of fact, we have one Port Richey Realtor that sits on one of the boards. I've already done the research. We can't even put him in the list.
Can't be put in the list
No,
because he did the
not
research?
because I've done the research, and since he's on one of our boards, he can't contract with him unless we had previously entered the contract before he became on the board.
Can we advertise it ourselves?
You can.
And our city attorney act as the,
You could do that.
well, then we don't have to
He's
pay
pretty
for-
good at that.
I know.
Pay a commission?
We could do a commission, we don't have to do a commission, we just pay him a straight fee.
I guess the answer is, you could always do that. People could do that every day, except that we
could
can't go
try.
on the multiple listing service, and that doesn't seem to me to be a commercially reasonable fashion, a way of doing it. In other words,
Well, we
Yeah.
could try it, for a month, see what.
try it. You do that?
Well, it's
There
not
are
like,
some companies that will put you on an MLS based on a flat fee.
You do it any way you want.
I haven't got a problem with that. It just say, well, I'd say just 3 or 4%. That isn't a tremendous amount. Council's call.
I just want to call attention to something I came across when I was reviewing this, and that is, it would appear to me that there is an error that the appraiser made. It may or may not be, but the picture they gave us for the flood zone is inaccurate. It is I don't know why they gave us this. It seems to have a circle in the middle on Fox Hollow Drive and 19.
What page
That
you
is
on?
nowhere near Rito Drive.
Are these comparable?
It's on page, it's got pages here, 27. Page 27. See what I'm referring to?
That's
Yeah,
page
I
10.
see where,
It's here.
yeah, I don't, Fox
Yeah.
Hollow, isn't,
If you look at the bottom, under map data, it says FEMA Special Flood Hazard Area, yes, which they also cite in their land appraisal report. At the bottom, it's FEMA Special Flood Hazard Area, and it's marked checked yes. Now, when I looked this up under the FEMA maps, what I found in that area around Arito Drive was area of minimal flood hazard. So there may be a variance in the amount that property is worth due to the fact that it may have a lot less flooding potential than the one that they are citing. I don't know how they figure for that.
I'll let Mr. Matthews take that, but I'm impressed.
That,
You dug that deep.
that property is down by the industrial park.
It's right before you get to the old Winn-Dixie Plaza or Sioux City.
It's on the right-hand side
On the
before you get to
left-hand side, on
Little
the
Road,
side.
the left-hand side.
So, yeah, I think maybe, I'm sure we paid these people, you might wanna call them, tell them that we'd like an updated, more
I'm-
concise report on the flood area and if it varies on the, on their appraisal price.
I'm sure Mr. Matthews will address that
In,
issue.
yeah, in anticipation that that works out, do you all want to go ahead and advise, advertise for a realtor within the city, or?
I think the question is, do we want to declare it a surplus?
Right,
Right.
correct.
Motion to declare Orito Drive a surplus property.
Okay, want to speak to that? Public? Back here, I think all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now.
So the next step will be whether, how you want to do it.
Right. Well, my suggestion is depending on how much work it is for the staff, I mean, is it gonna be a lot of extra work to save 4% or whatever? If it's a lot of work and it's gonna put a burden on the staff, I don't see it's worth it.
Yeah, I would agree on that.
But if it's not a big to-do, big burden on the staff, then maybe we should at least try selling it outright ourselves and let our attorney take care of the closing.
You want me to comment on that?
Sure.
I can't speak to how much burden it would be on the staff, except I can assure you that the staff are not appropriately trained in this, in that it's my opinion that the city should always hire people that are trained in the sale of property as opposed to doing it on your own. It's kind of like
So we
being
have
your
you.
own. I'm just saying, my opinion is the commercially reasonable manner of sale would be to hire an expert, since I represent the city and the city's interest, as opposed to trying to do this ad hoc. So I don't recommend that you have staff do it. They're not trained in the sale of property to get the best amount.
There's also an additional issue. Utilizing a separate real estate firm allows us to be able to utilize our city attorney in a different position to best protect the city from any issues with regards to the sale of that property.
Yeah,
So,
they can do a lot of negotiations, et cetera.
correct.
Okay, well, all right.
All right, we have a motion?
Well, it's not on the agenda, so we can just say, yes, Vince, we'd like you to go in that direction.
Thank you.
I think we can
I'll
make
move
it
forward
work.
in that
Everybody's
direction.
if everybody agrees.
Yes.
You with that? All right, go for
Can we
a,
vote on that?
I thought we should.
It's on the action item, it's specifically what we asked.
No.
We voted on the, put it surplus, but,
Declaring surplus.
We voted on that.
They voted on that.
Realtor be engaged for the sale at 110.
We made that. And now we were just saying, should we
Motion to
make a
approve a
motion?
realtor being engaged.
Should we make a motion to
You
approve the
declare
real?
surplus, then you might.
So we're gonna do both then.
You sure? Yeah. Do you wanna hire a
Does
realtor
the
to do
surplus
this, or-
give us, does that motion include taking, advertising for a realtor?
It did
Yeah,
not.
you just have her engage a realtor, sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so that was
motion did
within
not
your
include
motion.
that, but I.
Right, I'm saying the motion didn't include it, but that's why I'm
But
bringing it up.
But it
Well,
does.
how about motion to engage real estate person for the Elfrida Drive property?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're,
Take it
all right,
out
we
to the-
just covered the, I don't think they care. Do you? Okay, we are at Waterfront Park fencing and entryway gate.
Council, we've discussed on different occasions our efforts at brightening up, refurbishing, and reutilizing our waterfront park. Originally, it had a fence that was there. The fence has deteriorated to the point where it was removed, but necessity. The park is now wide open with respect to ingress and egress. The park would be more attractive and more secure with respect to the installation of a fence. The fence that we have in mind is, there's a picture of it, and it is similar to the fence alongside of an adjacent piece of property. The fence would provide several different, there are several different aspects to the fence, including going across the front of Old Post Road and then up alongside our adjacent property owner, right to the water lines to preclude any entrance from the side of the park. Plus, the park will now be able to be properly secured according to our regulations for all our parks, opened at dawn and closed at dusks. The police will have the obvious visual capability of witnessing anyone in that park after it has been closed. So there's a whole range of security that would be provided. We have indeed checked with the Florida Communities Trust. We keep them apprised. This is simply the replacement of an existing structure. And with respect to some statements that were made earlier, and the efficacy of that fence, let me clearly state that the fence is not, quote unquote, being put up to keep vagrants out. It is being installed to add security to the park and to safely enforce the city's dawn to dusk park closings, as well as to add clearer definition to its borders. We have, of course, been in constant contact with the FTC on this and other issues. Unfortunately, some people are unfamiliar with governmental processes and don't understand that we must come before our council before we can get estimates to put people out of their way and to concur in prior issues with respect to implementation. As anyone can see, the Waterfront Park has been undergoing a complete and comprehensive re-nourishment. That effort is long overdue and was begun about a month ago. The driving path has been repaired and leveled. The child's play area was refurbished with approved new child-friendly mulch, and all playing equipment was inspected and repaired wherever necessary. We have been reviewing our options with regards to the shrub trimming and alterations, keeping within state and FCT guidelines and requirements. We've begun modification assessments for both the park pavilion and restroom facilities. We have been and are investigating our funding options and related grant possibilities to address some of those issues. It is and always has been my intentions, as stated many times, to rebuild the fishing pier and to refurbish and expand the kayak area. As you are aware, and it is self-evident, our code enforcement officer has been out of service and hospitalized. Many issues have been brought to me, including recent comments by our city council person, Ms. Britton, and our code enforcement officer clearly will not be returning to work until she is well again. I have been attempting to provide support to that function for some time now. To that end, I will shortly be hiring an interim code enforcement officer. As with many code compliance offenders, the first words heard are, quote, "Why me?" end quote. Quickly followed by, quote, "What about those other offenders?" close quote. Let me be clear. We will and do administer all of the city codes, laws, and ordinances in a fair and unbiased manner, assuring equal and uniform treatment to all, commercial or residential. With respect to this specific issue, this is more than just a simple aesthetic approach to the park. It is part and parcel of what the city is attempting to do, which is refurbish that park and bring it back up to where it belongs, a jewel in the middle of the city alongside of our waterway.
Just real quick, I thank you for that because, you know, that was a concern of mine. I left a
Certainly
message
was.
on that.
Yes,
and-
ma'am.
And I think that's important that we continue in that direction. And as far as the fencing is concerned, we've put a lot of money and have had a lot of issues with the lavatories there.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I think that the fence is a good idea, and I'm all in favor for it. So I'd like to vote to approve the fence with the bid of the
The lowest bidder.
Perfect 10 fencing.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second and a problem. All of the bids, it appears to me, are from general contractors. Why don't we have a fencing company?
We requested quotes and bids, and this is what we received.
Well, where do
We
people
know-
go to find those?
We-
Some little place in the Times or?
No, we've actually gone out and talked to different contractors who in fact give us better prices than some fencing people have.
Okay,
It is more than simply placing the fence in. It includes also the construction of the gates, the binding pillars, and some other issues.
all right, I have a motion and a second and still a problem. Any thoughts, Will?
No, I was just reading it further on, and with the pillars and the gates and all that adds a tremendous amount of work to that project, so.
Correct.
Still, the fencing company does fencing. Pier companies do piers.
But if they don't put forth the bid, it doesn't do much good.
I know. That's why I'm trying to figure out where I'll look when I start my fencing company. Where is it advertised?
It hasn't been advertised. We went out and
Oh,
requested.
you just went out?
We went out and requested from individual corporations, companies, whatever we can get our hands on.
Okay. Well, I only mention this because one of our good friends said that the fencing company up on 19 by the old St. Pete Times, or maybe it's still there, probably would give us a lot better price. But if we're here, I guess we have to go forward. Would the public like to speak to this? Tom?
Jesus.
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court. I think we should ask the fencing company just past Home Depot for a bid, and Home Depot sells and installs fences too. So maybe
Yeah.
we get a bid from those two.
I don't,
Yep. Not to interrupt
Nancy?
or anything, but the only problem now, Mayor, is that we have an
We have
issue
the-
because we have numbers out. We can't
Right.
take bids at this point.
That is a problem. For them to bid knowing the bids isn't fair, but I would like to see in the future that, I don't know. I haven't figured out the answer to this yet. Anyone else from the public? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that brings us to Ms. Sorrell's part of Sorrell, part of old business. Anyone?
I was wondering, if we had any more contact? I know the state park is still constructing boardwalks and things. Have we had any further discussions with them about the connection for the hike and bike?
I just received some additional information with respect to property that we lease from the state alongside of theirs. So I intend to bring that issue to them and see if there's something that we can do with respect to that piece of property. It is on the left-hand side of the entrance to the rear entrance of the state park. So with that in my hand, I intend to go back and talk to Adam.
Okay. Anything further on the old pier, the old 19 pier next to Whiskey River?
I brought the new building official to that location. We've taken a look at it. We pulled up the old engineering reports, and we're going to take a very hard look at the possibility of reutilizing that bridge or some portion of that bridge for the specific purpose of a fishing pier. Between now and then, I'm hoping to utilize funds to begin to rebuild the original fishing pier in the waterfront park. But yes, we're moving forward. As I said, 3 or 4 days ago, we went out to take a look at the pier.
I did some preliminary work on this some months, maybe a year ago. And I got quite a bit of interest from Fish and Wildlife. There's several grants out there. The bridge is historic. It's, they said there's probably more than a few that we could probably apply for if we looked in those directions. Because it has the historical value, it has the fishing, it has community. There were a lot of things they thought that we might be able to get some help on it.
You, sir, have on staff a historic buff in the form of our building official who personally does preservation and restoration of old sites. And he was quite excited when he saw that facility, so we'll be taking a very hard look at it.
Okay. One last thing, anything
Yes,
on
sir.
the hike and bike trail underneath the bridge and to the other side?
We're
Working on that too?
Yes, sir, including right-of-way and property ownership. We've been looking at that.
Super.
Real quick, the two properties, the Old Pirates Den, we had a cutoff date that's coming up February,
We have
what's the date?
28.
The demolition date?
It was first week of February for the Old Pirates Den.
Oh,
one by
77,
you?
37 grand?
That's the demolition one we discussed.
Yeah, and the guy never got in touch with us. Has there been any correspondence with
Yet,
him?
yes. He most recently submitted a plan, somewhat flawed, and we're reviewing that plan now, and then he outlined some of the costs, and he outlined some of the activities. But some of that plan has been flawed in that, for instance, he talks about putting a roof up first, but then he has structural problems with beams. So you can't quite do the roof before you can do the beams, so there's several different issues. But he has in fact communicated back with us. We're reviewing his submittal. At this time, we haven't responded back to him. The process still moves, ma'am. It's moving forward.
And there was a property across the street, which used to be a roofing company. I know at one time that we were considering taking that down. Where are we with that?
I'm sorry,
Jocelyn,
I'm
do you
unfamiliar
know
with
the
that
address of that
activity.
property?
I'm unfamiliar with that issue. I'll certainly look into it.
Directly across the street.
I'll look into it.
It's all boarded up and everything.
I'll look right into it.
And the other question I have real quick is, have you been out throughout the city, kind of looking at what the different properties are? If you get a chance, when you're up to it, since your surgery and everything, could you go through the city maybe and with this gentleman and just kind of look at all the different properties and kind of make a list?
In fact, Councilwoman, I'm doing that like a religion.
Okay.
I even buy lunch and go out to Brasher Park or go to Nix Park or go to Olsner to sit and have lunch and to observe what's going on out there. But I also
Go to the web
drive.
and have some lunch over there.
I drive across to Alex's, speak with Alex, and take a look at the properties there, go to the fire station, and I do it as often as I possibly can. And more recently, I've begun to do exactly the same thing, stealing some time from our very busy building official to do exactly that. So yes, ma'am, I will be doing it and do it constantly.
Actually, he takes me in for a ride about once a week. Any other thoughts?
I'd love
Motion
to
to
take any,
adjourn.
if I might,
Well-
I'm sorry, if I might, I welcome any council person to come along. Be more than happy to go with them and the building official or any other individual that you would like to take that same ride and see the city through a different set of eyes, different sections and different issues. So any time a council person has some extra time and would like to do that, please give me a call. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Well, one thing I can tell you is, for those of you who have not been on Washington Street lately, what a change that we're gonna see there.
Yes, ma'am.
Abigail
Yeah.
Court, the independent living facility, is just, I've never seen anything built so quickly in my lifetime. And then just up the road, the 77 building, independent homes is on its way, so.
Cody, yes.
There's some really delightful changes for the neighborhood there. Matter of fact, I even had somebody from PAR say to me, gee, things are changing quite a bit over there. And I'm thinking to myself, yep, we're going in that direction, so that, it's, it's a good thing.
Councilwoman, and I sincerely hope that in a very, very short time, you're going to see the same exact changes occurring in our waterfront, which is critical to the future growth of this community.
Okay, before your motion, I just want to say, let's not forget Walmart. I liked your last thought best now.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there any chance that what you had looked at